Be seated, please. We're back on the record. State of Ohio versus Lindsay Partin. Ladies and gentlemen, jury, any issues with the admonitions that I need to know about? Very good. Ms. Howard, are you ready to proceed then to cross?
I am, Your Honor.
You may whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
While we've sat next to each other for a week, we have not been introduced. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Detective Turner, you indicated on your direct examination that you became lead detective on March 9th of 2018. Is that correct?
Correct.
In this particular case, is that correct?
Yes.
And what time did you get that designation?
First thing in the morning?
Okay. So first thing in the morning, had you already...
Correction. Can I correct that? I didn't
Certainly.
get the designation of lead detective on the 9th necessarily.
When did you...
I was told I was going to be involved in the interview on the 9th.
Okay. So on the 9th of March, when you arrived for work that day, is that
Yes.
fair to say?
Yes.
About what time did you arrive that day?
I get in fairly early, about 7:20.
Okay. And had you worked the day before on March 8th?
I did.
And you hadn't been involved in the case at all that particular
No.
day?
No.
But you're aware that the day before Detective Hensley had been involved in the case, correct?
I don't know. I
You've
didn't know
prepared
that
a-
day.
You've prepared a report of investigation as well as an updated report of investigation, have you not, sir?
I have.
And as part of that report of investigation, you would agree with me that contained within it are notes from Detective Hensley indicating his involvement on March 8th.
Correct.
You're aware he went to court and got a search warrant on that day, correct?
Yes.
So you're not unaware of that.
Correct.
Thank you. So in terms of the detectives who have touched that case before you get that case on the 9th, you'd agree with me that there's a multitude of detectives, correct?
Correct.
And that would include Detective Ventry,
Yes.
Detective Deathridge,
Yes.
Detective Morris,
Yes.
Detective Steele,
Yes.
Sergeant Whitlock,
Yes.
Detective Lambert,
Yes.
Detective Sprague.
Sprague, yes.
Sprague. One day I'm going to get it right. Did I leave out any other detectives?
Not off the top of my head, no.
And you were aware that Detective Ventry was actually on the 8th of March down at Cincinnati Children's Hospital, is that correct?
Yes.
Was the 8th of March, was that your off day?
No.
No. But, so you were
I was
aware?
aware of the case. I was just working my other caseload primarily.
So what time did you get assigned as the lead detective in this case?
That's not something I would document. I don't know.
It was certainly after you finished the interview with Lindsay Partin.
Correct.
Would you
Yes.
agree with me on that?
Yes.
Okay. You were aware that Detective Ventry was down at Cincinnati Children's Hospital and spoke with the doctor, the neurosurgeon, correct?
Yes.
And that neurosurgeon's name was what?
Stevenson?
Stevenson? Judge Stevens, not Judge Stevens,
Right.
but Dr.
Yes.
Stevenson, is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes.
And do you see any notes contained in your report of investigation relative to Detective Ventry's contact with Dr. Stevenson?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to show you what's previously been marked as Defendant's Exhibit, sorry, it's over here, H, as in Harry or Howard. Oh, I'm sorry, I have that still. Let the record reflect, I'm handing the witness Defendant's Exhibit H, previously identified when Detective Lambert was testifying. Do you recognize that document?
I do.
And in terms of that document, you do see an entry in regards to Detective Ventry and speaking with Dr. Stevenson.
New pages, they must have stuck together. You're referring to the 8th?
I'm sorry?
You're referring to the 8th?
Yes,
I'm showing Detective Deathridge and Ventry?
correct.
Yes.
Do you see the notations that Detective Ventry spoke with Dr. Stevenson, the neurosurgeon?
Yes.
Approximately page 11?
Mine aren't numbered, but I'm aware that that's in here, yes.
Okay. And you're aware that Detective Ventry obtained a search warrant on March 12th, 2018 to extract Lindsay Partin's phone, correct?
Yes.
And I'm assuming that as lead detective, you're fully aware of what's contained within that affidavit for search warrant, are you not?
I'm not fully aware. That's something that he would do primarily. He's our phone dump guy, so he's way more versed on that. I'm a lot like you. I'm not very handy when it comes to tech stuff.
Then we have something in common. In terms of that particular search warrant, you've had an opportunity to review it, have you not?
I have.
And you see what he indicates Dr. Stevenson advised him, correct?
You would have to refresh my memory.
Certainly. I'm going to hand the detective what I've marked as Defendant's Exhibit V as in Ventry.
I'm sorry, you said V?
V, it's V as in Ventry. Thank you. Handing you Defendant's Exhibit V as in Ventry.
Okay.
Do you recognize on the front page the section at the very bottom, to wit?
Yes.
And the paragraph immediately preceding that indicates that the affiant on that particular search warrant is Detective Joe Ventry, badge number 1179 of the Butler County Sheriff's Office.
Correct.
And he indicates he's been a police officer for 20 years.
Objection. Approach.
Okay.
Thank you. Looking at Exhibit V again,
Yes.
do you agree that Detective Ventry was a police officer for 20 years? Do you have knowledge of that?
That's about right. Yeah, sounds right.
And he's assigned to the Criminal Investigations Division?
He is.
Okay. And you're aware of what he wrote in the to wit section?
Yes.
And to wit is the statement of facts a police officer would be presenting to a judge in order to obtain a search warrant. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And you're aware that this particular detective advised the judge that he was seeing on that day about a particular statement
Yes.
from Dr. Stevenson?
I'm sorry, say again?
That Detective Ventry was advising a judge in an affidavit for a search warrant
Yes.
about a particular statement from Dr. Stevenson?
Yes.
And that statement was that Detective...
Objection.
Approach.
In stereo.
Which is good. We appreciate that. Ms. Howard, you may proceed according to the rulings at the sidebar. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to show you what is also marked as Defendant's Exhibit T1, T2. And U as in uniform. Showing the witness what's been marked as defense exhibit T1. Do you recognize Detective Hensley's signature on that document?
I do not.
Page 2?
Oh,
It's got multiple pages.
that's it, that one. Yes,
And that he signed it on or about the 8th of March, at
Correct.
approximately 1:40, I think 3 p.m., is that correct?
yes, that's correct.
And showing you defendant's exhibit T2, also directing your attention to page 2 of that particular document. Do you recognize Detective Hensley's signature on or about March 8th at approximately 1:45 p.m.?
That's correct.
And showing you defendant's exhibit U as in unicorn. Do you recognize on page 2 Detective Morris's signature
Yes,
for that affidavit also?
yes.
And in terms of that, sorry, one moment. Detective Morris signed that in front of, appears to be Judge Powers. Is that correct?
I can't tell.
Okay. At 1:10 p.m.?
Yes,
Do you see that on that particular line below Detective Morris's signature, it says it was March 8th?
yes,
Directing your attention back to page 1 of that particular affidavit and search warrant. Do you see the date instead of March 9th
I do.
above the judge's signature?
Yes,
You have information and knowledge as the lead detective in this case that Detective Morris's search warrant for 4050 Shank was actually served on the 9th of March, correct?
yes,
Okay. And is it fair to say that based upon V as in Victor, T1, T2, and U, that at the time that you were assigned the lead detective position in this particular case, that you were aware that the Butler County Sheriff's Department had information consistent with a 24-hour look-back period?
Approach. Ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed on, the last question that you heard was a question involving potential information that may have been had in terms of timeframes and whatever. I do want to caution you that that is not proffered by way of an expert opinion, and it is not to be considered as a substantive piece of evidence in terms of any medical testimony or medical issue that might be on the table. This is strictly an impeachment type of a situation in terms of the reports and how things were relayed and information conveyed and so forth, and that is all that you are to consider that information for. All right? So with that, Ms. Howard, if you would re-ask the question, we'll get the answer.
Yes, Your Honor. Detective Turner, is it fair to say that when you were designated as the lead investigator sometime after Ms. Partin's March 9th statement, that you were aware that the Butler County Sheriff's Department had received, prior to that date, information that the injuries were within a 24-hour time period?
that's fair to say, yes.
Okay. And
Within 24 hours, yes.
within 24 hours. You're aware of that, the words within 24 hours,
On the 8th or the 9th?
on the 8th.
I mean, I am because I'm reading this, yes.
You're the lead detective in the case. You've had
Right.
that designation for at least a year now, correct?
Correct.
Are you telling this jury that this is the first day you've ever seen those search warrants
No,
on
ma'am.
place before you?
No, it's not what I'm telling the jury.
So not only were you aware of within the 24-hour period on March 9th when you became a lead detective after interviewing Ms. Partin, correct?
Correct.
But you were also aware of it every day after. The 10th of March, the 11th of March, all of 2018, and all of 2019, correct? Up until today.
Yes.
And you would agree with me that on March 9th, 2018, when you were questioning Lindsay Partin, you lied to her when you told her the brain injury that she sustained was absolutely not 24 hours prior to, or even an hour prior, correct?
No, that was not a lie.
That's a lie, correct?
Not as far as I understood it, no.
You just told me that you understood it, that the Butler County Sheriff's Department had information that it was within a 24-hour period, correct?
What I know is we were receiving information all the time from doctors.
Detective Ventry went on the 12th of March using that same time period, correct?
Yes.
You'd agree with me that the 12th of March is after March 9th, would you not?
Yes.
I mean, you wouldn't want to not agree with that statement, would you?
No, and I don't.
And you would agree with me that when you told Lindsay Partin that it absolutely was not within 24 hours or even an hour prior, that is a lie to her, correct?
Within 24 hours, sure. Yeah, that was a lie.
Okay. So when you told her that the injury was immediately before the symptoms, that was a lie, correct?
No.
You just
Within
said that
24 hours is a big span.
Correct.
That's what I'm talking about. Within that
Absolutely.
24 hours.
You would agree with me that 24 hours is a large span of time.
I'm not sure I'm understanding if we're on the same page.
I'll break it down for you.
Please do.
You would agree with me that within 24 hours does not equate to the word immediately, correct?
It could. It's within 24 hours. Immediately is within 24 hours, the way I see it.
They're not the same thing, right?
They're not the same thing, but 24 hours is here and immediate is here. They're all in the 24 hours. That's
Okay.
the way I'm seeing it.
So-
I'm not sure if that's the way you're...
In addition to the word immediately, the truth, as you see it, would also include 24 hours before the word immediately, correct?
I don't follow.
You don't follow?
No.
Do you understand the concept of time?
I do.
Okay, so if the word immediately in your mind means within 24 hours, wouldn't you agree that there's a whole bunch of other words that equate to all the other minutes and seconds in that 24-hour period, correct?
There could be, sure.
You
That's
agree-
not what was
You
used.
agree the word 24 hours means 24 hours?
Within 24 hours.
So like,
It was not 24 hours. It didn't say 24 hours ago. It said within 24,
24
hours
hours.
ago. Yes,
So,
that's what I'm referring
the court
to.
clock says it's 2:54 and 10 seconds, and it keeps going. So within 24 hours would have been Sunday, 2:54 yesterday,
To
correct?
right now.
Yes.
Correct.
So,
So 2 minutes ago would have been within 24 hours.
okay, and so would 4 minutes, and so would 5 minutes, and so would 2 hours, and so would 3 hours, and so would 4 hours, and on and on and on, correct?
All the way up to 24 hours. Yes, ma'am.
Correct. And you would agree with me that in terms of the look back of 24 hours, you would agree with me that before 7 o'clock in the morning on the 8th of March of 2018, you have 6 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, 4, 3, 2, 1, midnight, 11 on the 7th, 11 p.m., correct?
Yes.
10 p.m. on the 7th,
Yes, 24 hours.
9, okay, all of
Yes,
those times.
Yes, all of those. Including 6:55 to 7:01.
Asked to strike non-responsive.
That is true.
Thank you. You told Lindsay whatever happened did not happen prior to her getting to your house. Do you remember that?
Yes,
24 hours is before she gets to her house, correct?
it is.
And Lindsay's response to you was, okay, I don't know what that means, right?
I mean, I'd have to read the transcript, but
You then tell her it wasn't Thursday and it wasn't Wednesday, for sure. Do you recall telling her that?
yes,
That's not true. They're within 24 hours, right?
yes,
And Lindsay says, I don't know what to say. Do you recall that?
yes,
And you continue on, and you tell Lindsay, we've got these world-renowned neurologists, neurosurgeons, and they say this didn't happen Thursday, and it surely didn't happen Wednesday. Do you remember telling her that?
yes,
But we've got this within 24 hours. You'd agree that Wednesday and Thursday also are within 24 hours, correct?
I agree that the 24 hours was written down on the paper, yes.
Okay. And Lindsay's response to you was, "That's crazy." Do you recall that?
I don't necessarily know.
And you continue on and say, "This happened immediately. This injury happened and she went down." Do you recall telling her that?
Yes.
And Lindsay tells you she literally walked in the door and that was it. Correct?
Which time?
Right after your statement to her.
Okay, yes.
And then you tell her, "These people obviously know. They're the doctors." Do you remember telling her that?
I do.
And Lindsay agrees with you. Doctors know. Do you remember her agreeing with you on that?
She agreed a lot, yes.
And you tell Lindsay, "Everything we know from yesterday, we're telling the doctors, and this is what we're being told." And the doctor says no. You're not telling her that you were told within 24 hours, are you?
No.
You're telling her immediate, and you're skipping all the other minutes and all the other hours, 24 hours from that period of time, correct?
Within 24 hours, yes.
Okay, but you're skipping all those. You'd agree with me, correct?
That's what was in the documentation, but we were getting far more information from doctors than just what this one little line that was in the documentation.
You're aware of Detective Ventry's search warrant,
Yes.
executed,
Yes.
sworn to in front of a judge, correct?
Yes.
You're aware that he signed that on March 12th, correct?
Yes.
Did you know that before you showed up today?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And I apologize if I appear to be putting words in your mouth. Sometimes it's Detective Hensley telling Lindsay things, correct?
Yes.
So sometimes it's you, sometimes it's him, or sometimes it's both of you. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
And Detective Hensley says, "Doctor says it's a hit," and she went down. Do you remember that statement by Detective Hensley?
Yes.
And Lindsay says, "I wouldn't hit a kid." Do you remember that
I
statement?
do remember that, yes.
And you remember, you're telling Lindsay, someone in that house, after Dad dropped her off, injured this kid to the point where she's unconscious, a dramatic fall or something. Do you remember telling her that?
I do.
You introduced fall into the case. Do you remember that? The word
I did,
fall
yes.
is said by you,
Yes.
correct?
Yep.
And then you and Hensley tell her it must be some sort of accident. Do you remember telling her that?
I do.
And Lindsay says, "I believe you, but that didn't happen Thursday morning." Do you remember that statement?
At first, yes.
I'm going right down the line. Do you not remember that statement?
No, I do. I just was making sure we were in chronological order.
And then you introduce accidental drop in the case. Do you remember that?
Yes.
You tell Lindsay, something absolutely happened. Do you remember telling her that?
Yes.
In fact, the word something happened, would you agree with me, about 23 or more times? Have you counted it? Did you count it while you listened?
No, I've not counted that, no.
So you didn't count that?
How many times?
You said
I said a
something
specific
happened.
word? No, that's not something I would do.
And Lindsay tells you that did not happen Thursday, and you respond with, "It did."
Yes.
And that's not within the 24 hours, except for the word immediately, correct?
It's within 24 hours.
Okay. And you tell her again, "No doubt, from when you walked in the door to the time she fell, that's when it happened." Do you remember telling her that?
I do.
And it absolutely happened during this time. Do you remember telling her that?
I sure do.
And the only ones there were you and a couple of kids. Do you remember telling her that?
That's what she told us, yes.
You're aware that the day before that they kept trying to insert TJ into the house that morning. Do you recall that?
Trying to rule him out, yes.
And then you suggest an accident again as the reason for this injury. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And she tells you, "I really don't know what happened." Do you remember that?
I do.
You tell her whether it was an accident or not. You're asking her about accident again. Do you remember that?
Yes.
You remember you tell her something happened under your care and in about a 5-minute time frame. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And Lindsay says, "I don't know what else to say." Do you remember that?
I do.
And you tell her something happened, okay, something happened. Do you remember that?
I do.
And you tell her again. Something happened, so we're beyond nothing happened. The only person who knows what happened is you. Do you remember telling her that?
Yes.
And she said, "I'm telling you that I don't know." Do you remember that?
Yes.
And you tell her to stop talking about Wednesday. Do you remember telling her that?
I do.
No point in talking about Wednesday. We're beyond that. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Because this happened in a 5-minute span in your custody. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And you and Hensley tell her it happened when she was in your care, correct?
Yes.
And Lindsay says, I don't know what else to say. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And then you and Hensley again talk about an accident. Do you remember that?
Yes.
You ask, has she fallen? Has she been dropped or something? Do you remember that?
Yes.
And Lindsay says, I did not do anything to her. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Lindsay tells you he barely walked out the door. Do you remember that?
Not specifically.
You know that
referring
she,
to who?
Lindsay, that he
Who
isn't
barely-
Jason.
Oh, okay.
That father had barely walked out the door.
Okay.
And you tell her, as soon as you guys walk into the house, something happened. Do you remember telling her that?
Yes.
No doubt something happened. Do you remember telling her that?
Yes.
You tell her something absolutely happened. Do you remember telling her that?
Yes.
And then you tell her, we're not going back to Wednesday. Do you remember that?
Yes.
We're not going back to the morning that Dad had her. Do you remember telling her that?
Yes.
We're beyond that. Do you remember telling her that?
Correct.
And you tell her it's narrowed down by brain surgeons that it happened right when she hit the ground. Do you remember telling her that?
Yes.
Right when she hit the ground, if you use your words, is 1 millisecond within 24 hours, correct?
I would say so, yes.
And Lindsay says, I don't know. She just collapsed in front of me. Do you remember her telling you that?
Yes.
And you tell Lindsay, there's no doubt in our minds that this was an accident. Do you remember telling her that about an accident?
Yes.
That it was a horrible, horrible accident. Do you remember telling her that?
Yes.
And Lindsay says, she didn't fall Thursday morning. Do you remember she told you that, correct?
Yes.
I'm going sequentially.
Okay, yeah.
And you and Hensley keep on her. This is a horrible accident. You have to tell us exactly what this accident was. You remember saying that to her?
Yes.
You tell her Lindsay's still being treated. You remember telling her that?
I do. Hannah was still being treated.
Correct. I
Yes.
apologize. Thank you. You tell her it was a hit, a drop, she fell, she hit her head, she had whiplash. You say those words several times, correct?
Yes.
You and Detective Hensley, correct?
Correct.
You tell her it's an accident that caused it and you need to know what happened because Hannah's still being treated. Do you remember saying that?
Yes.
Would you agree with me that you suggested it was an accident at least 10 times?
At least, yes.
And would you agree with me that you suggested, or Detective Hensley suggested, that the child fell at least 4 times?
At least, yes.
And that you suggested that she'd been dropped 3 times?
Oh, yes.
And that you suggested whiplash, correct?
Yes.
And that she'd been hit, correct?
Yes.
And after you've suggested all these things, you'd agree with me that that's when Lindsay says she fell and hit the concrete step. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
That that's what that interview is up until that point in time.
Yes.
So after almost 10 minutes of you and Detective Hensley saying, it's you, only you and 2 kids, and something happened. It's an accident, it was a hit, it was a fall, she was dropped, that's when Lindsay says she fell and hit the concrete. You'd agree with
It
that,
was
correct?
after all that, yes.
You know that Lindsay's brother is a Kentucky police officer, correct?
She told me that, yes.
And you knew that from the day before, correct?
I don't know when I
Were you
found
told that information when you went into the interview room with Lindsay?
And that would have not been something pertinent to the interview, no.
It wouldn't be pertinent to the interview to know that this girl right here trusted police?
No.
It wouldn't be?
Most people trust police, so no, that wouldn't be a pertinent.
And you'd agree with me that the day before, well, maybe you didn't know this, did you know that Sergeant Whitlock had told her that Hannah was dead on March 8th?
I did.
That was a lie, correct?
That was a lie, yes.
Did you know that Lindsay Partin had close family friends in addition to her brother who was a law enforcement officer and she trusted all of the police?
I didn't know that, no.
You saw she'd never had any interrogation by a police officer before, hadn't you?
I would assume that, judging by her record, yes.
She didn't have a record, correct?
Correct. That's why I would assume that.
You talked to her about touch DNA. You know that's false, correct?
Yes.
You would agree with me that you saw the essential oils on the counter at Lindsay Partin's house?
In person?
Sure, let's go there.
No.
Did you ever go to 4050 Shank Road?
I did very briefly, yes.
Did you ever go to 4004 Shank Road?
No,
Never.
never.
I'm going to show you what was previously identified and admitted as State's Exhibit 107.
Okay.
Having handed you 107, do you recognize that particular photograph at all?
Yes,
You'd agree that it's part of the case file in this matter?
yes.
And in regards to that, do you see the essential oils on the particular counter? I apologize, let me put it up on the screen.
Not at a glance, I don't know.
Let me put it up on the screen,
Okay.
because this has been admitted. Do you see State's Exhibit 107 up on your computer screen?
I do, ma'am.
Do you see these items here?
Yes.
Any idea what those are?
I would assume they are essential oils.
You lie to Lindsay Partin in that interview when you tell her that Jason Weshy said the babysitter did it, don't you? That's a lie. You're interviewing her on March 9th, and
Yeah, I
that's a
don't
lie.
believe I spoke to, well, I know I didn't speak to Jason, so, yeah, that could have been.
It could have been.
I'll go with yes, but I don't know exactly what I knew.
Had you had
Jason
an
Weshy
opportunity to review the notes of the other police officer who spoke with Jason Weshy at Fort Hamilton Hospital on the morning of the 8th?
I wouldn't have reviewed the notes, but I would have got, I would have received an update of whatever his statement was before I would have went in. I don't
And-
specifically remember
So you made that
that
up.
briefing.
You made that up when you're interviewing Lindsay Partin, correct?
Repeat it again?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You lie to Lindsay Partin
Uh-huh.
when you tell her Jason Weshy says, Hannah keeps saying the babysitter did all of these. Isn't that a lie?
But, well, that was a mistake. I believe that was from,
That's a
Another-
lie on March
another
9th.
witness.
That's a lie.
okay, yeah, that's a lie, yes.
When you and Detective Hensley are going through the photos of the bruising, those are from photographs from the Children's Hospital, is that correct?
Yes,
And Lindsay tells you she thought the bruises were from the gravel, that she saw new bruises the morning of Wednesday on the chin and chest. Do you remember that?
yes,
And you tell her the bruises on her chin, neck, chest, and torso were absolutely, didn't happen on a fall on a flat driveway. Do you recall that?
yes,
And she says, I do not know. I thought it was the gravel in the fall. Do you remember that?
yes,
And she says, I don't know about those. And you tell her she does. Do you remember that?
yes,
Lindsay tells you for over 5 minutes she doesn't know how she got all those bruises, correct?
yes,
You asked her about a bath, correct?
I did.
During your investigation, did you have an opportunity to open up State's Exhibit 124 and scroll through her phone at all?
I did not do that, no.
You never opened up this phone?
Is that the same question?
Yeah.
Okay, so again, no, I did not go through that phone.
You're the lead investigator in this case, and you're aware that simply turning on the phone with the code that she gave you on March 8th would let you look and see all information, correct?
I already had that information on a whiteboard in our room. Yes, I didn't need to go through that phone.
What do you mean you already had that information on a whiteboard?
You're speaking of the 9th? You're referring to the 9th?
Sure.
Okay. Her phone was the 5 major times that we needed were obtained on the 8th.
Okay. But you've never opened up her phone and
No,
looked at it?
ma'am.
This is an iPhone. Are you familiar with iPhones at all?
I'm not actually, no.
Okay. So when you previously identified 124 as her phone, how did you identify that?
I obtained the phone. I saw the phone. I was aware of the phone, but I never went through the phone. That was the question.
Okay, so you've never gone through this?
For the third time, correct.
I'm gonna hand you the envelope that this was in. Put it back in the envelope. Can you show me your markings on that particular envelope indicating that you obtained, or you possessed, or you opened that at any point in time?
I'm sorry, the last part of the question?
Any markings of your own identifying that you touched that, you opened it, you possessed it?
I wouldn't have opened this. I didn't open it until Friday.
Okay.
Once it's sealed, I did not open it. It doesn't appear that anyone had opened it. But all this sloppy handwriting is mine.
Okay. Do you see any handwriting that you identify as Detective Ventry's?
I wouldn't suspect. This appears to be... There's some handwriting on it that's not mine. I'm not sure if that was where it was sealed and previously opened again. It could be Joe Ventry initials, yes.
Okay. Badge number 1179?
It doesn't say.
Is it normal that you guys would put your badge number on and a piece of evidence that you've touched, handled, opened, looked at?
That's requested, yes.
Is it a policy and procedure of the Butler County Sheriff's Department?
That I'm not sure. I typically do it.
Lindsay tells you that she didn't give a bath to Hannah on the Monday before the 8th. Do you recall that?
I don't specifically recall that.
Did you check to see if there were any notes contained within the phone about baths?
I did not, no. Once again, I did not go through the phone.
Madam Prosecutor asked you, after watching the video this morning, about the word uppercut. You recall that question by Ms. Sheehan?
Yes.
You'd agree with me that it's you who said uppercut, correct?
To describe what she did, yes.
In fact, to describe what she did, she had an open hand, and you said it's an uppercut,
She
didn't
didn't
you?
have an open hand, ma'am. No. No. She absolutely did not have an open hand. Looks like it on the video, but she did not. She had her hand just
I'm
like
sorry.
this.
The video looks like it was an open hand.
That-
You're telling this jury that you saw a closed fist.
Ma'am, no.
Is that what
no.
you're saying?
No, I did not say a closed
That's
fist.
what I heard. Thank you.
Is this a closed fist or open hand? I don't know, but this is what she did.
You're the one who said closed fist, didn't you?
I consider that a closed fist. That's a
She
martial
didn't
art.
say that.
This is a martial arts closed fist.
Do you have any information to suggest that Lindsay Partin knows anything about martial arts?
No, but her terminology, your terminology, and my terminology could be different on what a closed fist is and what a closed fist is not. That's why I'm describing you to what I thought was a closed fist. This is what she did. Yes, and she agreed. She didn't deny that she
Because
did
you
it
told
with an
her it
open
was an
hand.
uppercut. Do you remember that? You remember saying to her,
No.
don't tell me once. Don't tell me once. So she says twice. Do you remember that?
Yes, it was obvious that there was more than one. That's why I said that.
It was obvious that the information that the Sheriff's Department had on March 9th was within a 24-hour period, correct?
Within a 24-hour period, yes.
And it was obvious, at least on March 10th, or some date after, that you knew Jason Weshy had lied about the milk in his fridge. Remember?
It was probably on the 10th where we discovered a discrepancy, yes.
I'm going to show you what's marked as Defendant's Exhibit AA 1 through 22. Before I hand you these, I believe I just heard you tell this jury that it was sometime after March 10th that you understood the discrepancy existed about the milk,
I didn't
correct?
say sometime after. I said around the 10th.
Is that like within 24 hours? Is that like the same phrase?
Everything is always within 24 hours, depending on the point.
Okay. Handing you Defendant's Exhibit AA 1 through 22 that appear to be photographs. Do you recognize those at all as the lead detective in this case?
I do.
Okay. You recognize them as the kitchen of 4004 Shank Road, correct?
I do.
You agree with me that those were taken on March 8th, correct?
Yes.
They were taken pursuant to Detective Hensley's search warrant on March 8th, correct?
Correct.
And Let me know when you've finished.
Okay.
Permission to publish.
Objection.
Approach, please. On the basis of the last question, it'll be sustained. Ladies and gentlemen, disregard it. Ms. Howard, you may proceed to rephrasing the question accordingly.
Detective Turner, you had before you Exhibit AA 1 through 22, is that correct?
Correct.
And you've had an opportunity to view those photos?
I did.
Is today the first time you've ever seen those photographs?
No.
When did you first see those photographs?
Shortly after they were taken.
Okay. Do you have any reason to disagree that they're a 4004 Shank Road?
No.
That they were taken on March 8th of 2018 by Detective either Steele, Morris, or Hensley?
Correct.
Okay. And they were within your case file?
Yes.
And they appear to be a true and accurate, they've been relayed to you to be a true and accurate depiction of what they took photographs of, correct?
Correct.
Do you recognize that to be the refrigerator in 4004?
Yes.
Specifically, Exhibits AA 21 and 22?
Yes.
And do you have any reason to believe that that's not the I'll wait till you get to it.
Sorry.
They're the last two, if that would help at all.
Okay, yes, it would. Okay.
Do you have any reason to believe that they're not a
No.
true and accurate depiction of 4004 Shank Road?
No.
And that is in Butler County, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Ask to publish.
Stay.
No objection, Your Honor. Which specific one?
Yeah, that was my next question.
I'm going to start with 21 and 22, and I'll work my way through it.
As to 21 and 22, the refrigerator, the state has no objection.
I think that's really all the question is covered at this point.
Uh,
So 21 and 22, I'm sorry, AA 21 and 22.
Sorry. I use letters, and there's some other exhibits that I'd already pre-marked. That's why
Right.
this one's AA.
No, I have to make sure that it's separated since the state uses numbers. AA 21 and 22, they'll be admitted, you may finish.
Thank you. Before I get to that, Detective, could you look through AA 1 through 20 also, please?
Sure.
Take your time.
Okay. I think I may have got them out of order.
I can put it back in, that's fine.
Sorry. Okay.
Would you agree, Detective Turner, that AA 1 through 20 also appear to be a fair and accurate depiction of what 4004 Shank Road was when those detectives took those photographs?
That's my understanding.
And that's within your case file?
Yes.
Asked to publish all 22, Your Honor.
Same objection, Your Honor.
That's approved. Agreed to the admission and publication of 21 through 22. I don't know if you want to go that route first.
I will.
You may continue, go ahead.
They're all out of order. I'm
That's all
sorry.
right, I'm just going to say 21 and 22. Showing you what's marked as AA 21. Sorry, my eyes are not that great. Okay, so this is the inside of the fridge at 4004. The doors are open, is that correct?
Yes.
And you identified that that was a photograph of the fridge at that residence that other detectives had taken on March 8th?
Yes.
And you would agree with me when I say March 8th, it was at least sometime after Detective Hensley signed his search warrant at 1:41 p.m. on March 8th?
Yes.
And do you know specifically what time it was done?
I don't. Not off the top of my head, no.
Do you see any milk in the door?
No.
Sorry, I touched it. Let me move it. Okay. Showing you what's marked as AA 22. That appear to be the inside, also demonstrating the freezer door and refrigerator door are both opened.
Yes.
You don't see any milk in there, is that correct?
That's correct.
you'd agree with me, Detective, that whether father went to Walmart and got milk the night before within that 24-hour period is important, correct?
Important? How so?
Because he lied.
It was determined that he did not lie.
You got a video of him at Walmart getting milk on March
No,
7th?
no,
Are you
about-
telling me that?
No, it was determined that he...
Are you telling me that you have a video of him at Walmart, just like he told you that he went and got milk on the 7th? Is that what you're saying?
It was determined that he did not lie about that. He did not go to Walmart, correct?
Okay, do you have a video of him going to get milk?
No, there's no video of him getting milk.
And there's no milk in the fridge, correct?
No, he did not go get milk.
And he told the
He
police.
told us that, but it was determined that that was not a lie.
Because there was milk in the fridge? I didn't see it. Can I put that back up? Can you point
No,
to
a
me?
lie
Can you point
means-
to me the milk?
There's no milk in there.
There's no milk
I've
in
already
there.
testified to that, yes.
He didn't go to Walmart, correct?
He did not go get milk, yes. But it was determined that that was not a lie.
What was it?
I don't know what it would have been, but he did not purposely tell us that he went to go get milk and not go get milk.
He
That was
didn't just
determined
tell-
that that was not a lie.
He
That
didn't
was-
just tell you, I'm sorry, he didn't just tell Detective Ventry or Detective Sprague that he went and got milk, correct?
Correct.
So he said on March 8th at Fort Hamilton Hospital, when asked what he did the night before, he said he and Hannah went and got milk. He said that at Fort
Yes,
Hamilton,
he did
correct?
say that, yes.
He said at Children's Hospital to Detective Ventry that he went and got milk, correct?
Yes, he did say that, yes.
And Butler County Sheriff's Department detectives or officers went to Walmart to try to obtain the video of Jason Weshy and Hannah Weshy at Walmart sometime in the evening hours of March 7th, correct?
Correct.
And there was no video,
He
correct?
did not go, correct.
He's not in any video, correct?
Correct.
Did he go to some other store?
I don't know. He did not go to Walmart.
Do you see any milk in this fridge?
Objection, asked and answered.
Sustained.
There is no milk in the refrigerator.
Next question.
Oh, sorry.
Detective, you wrote a updated report of investigation that you've already identified as H as in Harry, correct?
Yes.
And you would agree with me that there is not an entry anywhere in that in regards to milk, correct?
Correct.
You don't say the word milk in those 11 pages whatsoever, correct?
That's fair to say, yes.
Is it fair to say that it's only later, sometime in November, that you write a statement about the milk?
Yes.
Do you remember when you wrote that particular statement, sir?
November, I don't know the exact date of 2018.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's marked as Defendant's Exhibit S, as in Stephen. Do you recognize Defendant's Exhibit S?
Yes.
That appears to be a statement made by you.
Yes.
1 second, let me get to it. Do you remember when you had this conversation with Mr. Weshy about the Walmart discrepancy?
It was on or about the 10th of, it was 3/10 of 2018.
Actually, it was on or about 3/10
On or about,
of 2018, correct?
Correct, yes.
And you wrote this statement in November of 2018, correct?
Yes.
So if we went back to your computer, like you did for Detective Lambert, that would show a computer entry in November 2018, correct?
Correct.
And you'd never written it before,
No.
and you indicate in this part of your report that Jason now says he was mistaken.
Yes.
Is that why it's not a lie?
No, that's not why it's not a lie.
Did you see milk in the fridge? The picture's still up.
No, there's no milk in the fridge for the
Objection,
5th time.
Yes, sustained.
There's no cereal in the house either, isn't that correct?
At the time the pictures were taken, no.
No milk, no cereal?
At the time the pictures were taken, no.
The pictures were taken on March 8th, the afternoon of March 8th, correct?
Yes.
Do you have any information to believe that Jason Wesche, when he left 4050 Shank Road, following the EMT, that he came back before your detectives got there to take photographs?
No, that's not what I'm referring to.
Did you look for other stores' videos to see if Mr. Wesche had been telling the truth when he said he went to go get milk the night before?
No, he told us he did not go after I called him back.
After your telephone call with him?
Correct.
But he told that to the hospital, correct?
I'm not sure what he...
You're not sure that he told the hospital
The
that she was
hospital.
acting normal, that she'd had milk and cereal that
Objection.
morning?
Permission to approach.
Yeah, approach. All right, objection was withdrawn. Ms. Howard, you may proceed.
Detective Turner. My question was, as lead detective, you're not aware that that's what Jason Wesche was telling the hospital?
Yeah, yes.
You're aware of that?
I know it was said at the hospital. I don't know if he told hospital personnel per se. That was told to a detective.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's defendant's exhibit P and Q. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I'm showing you what's marked as defendant's exhibit P as in Paul, Q as in quarter. Do you recognize?
Yes.
You recognize your signature on those documents?
Yes, ma'am.
And, 1 second. Is it fair to say that on the approximately 4-hour interview that we were just watching for the last couple days, I guess Friday and today, that while Lindsay is sitting in that room after you and Hensley leave, that you go to Area 1 and sign these complaints?
Yes.
And that P, as in Paul, I think that's what I called it. I know it's P. I might have called it Peter. Is your complaint charging in Area 1 court Lindsay Partin with the offense of felonious assault?
Correct.
And it's fair to say that on that complaint that's signed by you, that you indicated that the to wit, we've discussed the word to wit, right?
Yes.
To wit, on 3/8/2018, Lindsay...
Objection, Your Honor, may we approach?
Sure. As far as the conversation goes, keeping in line with the conversation, Ms. Howard, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. On to defendant's exhibit P as in Paul,
Yes.
the to wit. You would agree with me that you swore this to be true, correct?
Yes.
And the to wit says, on 3/8/2018, Lindsay Partin did knowingly cause a serious physical harm to a child by shaking her, correct?
Yes.
That's what you charged her with, correct?
Correct.
And that was constituting the offense of felonious assault, correct?
Yes.
And you swore that when you went up to Area 1, correct?
Yes.
That's part of that lapse of time
Yes,
That Lindsay's sitting in that room? Because you'd agree with me, Area
Yes.
1's in Oxford,
it is.
so you got to drive up there.
Correct.
And on to Exhibit Q, Defendant's Exhibit Q. You recognize that to be your signature,
Yes.
as well as your badge number 1805 behind your name?
Yes, ma'am.
And you swore this to be true in front of a deputy clerk of some sort on March 9th, is that correct?
Yes.
And in that particular charge on Q, that's the complaint for child endangering, correct?
Yes.
And on that day, your to wit for that was on 3/8/2018, Lindsay Partin did knowingly cause a serious physical harm to a child by shaking her, thereby constituting the offense of child endangering. You agree with, that's what you
Yes.
wrote?
Yes.
And you typed this up, or did Detective Hensley type this up?
No, a lot of times we'll type it up, but when we get there, they'll retype it. The clerk will. So I don't know whether I specifically typed this or if the clerk did.
And you'd agree with me that those two particular documents, you then hand to Lindsay at the end of the video when you and Hensley come back from Area 1 and you say, these are yours. Before
Yes.
you're exiting the room, correct?
Right.
It's those two complaints, correct?
Yes.
And within your complaints, both of them identical, indicate that this complaint is based upon Detective Turner's investigation and Lindsay Partin's admission, correct?
Yes.
And would you agree with me that up until the point in time that you go to Area 1 to sign these complaints, that your investigation consists solely of talking to Lindsay Partin, correct? Your investigation, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
You hadn't talked to other witnesses, correct?
Right. Yes.
How long have you been a detective, sir?
3 years, ma'am.
And what's your swearing-in date as a detective?
June 27th, I believe,
Of which year?
of 2016.
And so in March of 2018, you've been a detective for less than 2 years, correct?
Yes.
And when you were assigned as lead investigator, lead detective on this particular case, sometime around March 9th, after you've talked with Lindsay Partin, filed these charges, had you previously been assigned as the lead detective in any murder case before?
No, ma'am.
Had you previously been assigned as the lead detective in any child endangering case?
No, ma'am.
Do you still have H in front of you, sir?
Is that a document?
Yes, it's your updated report of investigation.
It's here someplace.
It's a little
Yes.
thicker.
Yeah.
Okay. You've had a chance to look through H.
Yes.
I'm going to ask that you count those pages.
$17.
And if you took H with your milk note, which is S as in Stevens, do you have S up there still?
Yes.
If you took H and S, is that all of the notes contained within the Butler County Sheriff's Department computer system about the investigation on Hannah Weshy?
Yes.
You didn't leave out any other detectives' statements or narratives that they supplied to you?
No.
And you indicated when you first began testifying on Friday that the narrative that I asked Detective Lambert about, which was Exhibit I as in Ingrid, I wasn't contained in yours updated report of investigation?
No, ma'am.
I was not contained within your Exhibit S, which is your updated about the milk on or about the 10th of March, correct?
No.
Have you had a chance to go back and look through the computer system for all of the detectives that have touched this case to see if there are other notes that you didn't get possession of?
Yes, I did.
Did you do that the evening of
Yes,
Detective Lambert's testimony?
correct.
And you didn't find any more other than
No, I
that
did
one?
not.
So, other than her entry on March 25th of 2019, the entry before that would have been November of 2018 when you made the Exhibit S into the computer system, correct?
Yes,
And the one before that would be your updated report investigation inclusive of the date of April 18th of
Correct.
2018, correct?
yes.
So let's go through H if we could, please. It begins, you'd agree with me, with the narrative from the report by Deputy Mayor, is that correct?
Yes,
And then you include the notes from Detective Sprague and Detective Lambert on 3/8 of 2018.
yes, ma'am.
And then it is inclusive of a note by Detective Lambert on March 8th, 2018 in regards to her telephone call with Christina Lewis. Is that correct?
Yes,
And you'd agree with me that after watching that video just shortly ago, that Detective Lambert did not, in fact, know Christina Lewis's phone number, name, or address on March 9th? You'd agree with me, correct?
on the 9th? Yes.
Yeah.
Well, she had to ask for it.
She's
Is that what you're
seen
referring
in
to?
that video, correct?
Yes,
She's the female detective that comes in at the end.
Right.
And has.
ask for the
exhibit-
information?
It has the
Yes.
phone, correct?
Yes,
And then comes back again with the phone and has it turned on and asks Lindsay to locate Christina Lewis's information.
yes.
Phone number, address, her contact info, correct?
Yes,
And so you'd agree with me that within your updated report of investigation, it's inaccurate that she had this telephone call with Miss Lewis on the 8th of March, correct?
I'm misunderstanding your question.
That's simple. On March 9th in this video, you saw the video, right?
Yeah, I saw the video.
Today
yes.
wasn't the first time you've ever seen this video, correct?
Yes,
How many times have you seen this video before today?
multiple.
Multiple times.
Don't like to watch it.
Multiple times.
Yes,
And you see that on March 9th, Detective Lambert comes
Yes.
into the room in the last, I'm going to say 20 minutes total of the video, correct? And
Yeah.
she specifically comes in twice, correct?
I think I know what you're talking. Yes, yes.
That happens on March 9th, correct?
Correct. Yes.
So she didn't call Christina Lewis on March 8th, correct?
I can't say that. I don't know.
Well,
I
you
can't
put
speak
it in
for
your,
what she did. I didn't write. I don't write these. If they've got their names by them, that detective wrote it.
okay.
So I can't speak for that.
So you're not going to testify to the veracity of Detective Lambert's notes? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying I can't speak for her. If she says that it was the 8th, then it's the 8th. That was something you would have to ask her. I don't
Just
know.
like she said that she did Exhibit I, way back in March of 2018?
I believe you asked her about that, so.
And then you confirmed by your computer systems that she had not done that until 2019, correct?
Correct.
Moving on, the next page has an entry by Detective Hensley on March 8th, correct?
Yes.
He was getting the search warrants, correct?
Yes.
The ones that I've had you identify as Defendant's Exhibit T1 and T2, is that correct?
Yes.
The next entry is Detective Hensley and Detective Lambert. Do you see that?
Yes.
On March 9th?
Yes.
It appears to have been written by Detective Hensley, is that correct?
Yes.
Because the statement is Detective Lambert and I.
Correct.
The next page continues on with March 9th. Is your interview with Detective Hensley of Miss Partin, is that correct?
Yes.
The next entry is March 13th, is that correct?
Yes.
You and Detective Hensley went to the Mayerson Center for the team meeting, is that correct?
Correct.
And do you recall what doctors were at that team meeting on March 13th?
It was Dr. Dean.
Was Dr. Makaroff there?
No.
The next entry is March 13th also by Detective Hensley, is that correct?
Yes.
The next entry goes back to March 8th, is that correct?
Correct?
It's a note by Detective Deathridge and Detective Ventry down at Children's Hospital, correct?
Correct?
Appears to have been written by by Detective Deathridge, correct?
Yes, yes.
The entry after that at approximately page 14 appears to be March 9th of 2018, is that correct?
Yes.
It uses the word "I." Do you know who wrote this?
That would have also been Detective Deathridge.
The next entry lists March 7th of 2018. Would you agree that's probably not true?
That's not accurate, correct?
That's an entry by Detective Morris, is that correct?
Correct.
Speaks of the search warrants at 4004 and 4050.
Yes.
The next entry appears also to be from Detective Morris, listing now the date of March 8th. Do you see that?
Yes.
So he's probably got that date wrong also?
Correct.
So that would be actually his March 9th search
Yes.
warrant, is that correct?
Yes.
Previously identified by you as Exhibit U.
Yes.
And then there's an entry by you on March 16th, is that correct?
Yes.
Identifying both yourself and Detective Hensley, is that correct?
Correct?
Do you know who wrote that?
Me?
Okay. The entry after that is March 20th of 2018. Do you see that?
Yes.
That's when you, I'm assuming you wrote March 20th,
I did.
correct?
Correct?
You and Detective Hensley went and observed the autopsy, is that correct?
Correct.
The next entry after March 20th is March 22nd, is that correct?
Yes.
In regards to a telephone call, is that correct?
That's correct?
And the final entry is April 18th of 2018 by
Yes.
you also, is that correct?
Yes.
About a telephone call, correct?
Correct.
So you're advising that the entirety of the report of investigations is contained within H, which is your updated report of investigations,
And S.
and S.
And there is one more.
There's another supplement that we haven't received yet.
There's an email, yes.
Can we approach, please? Speak of, you'd agree, was an email in September of 2018?
Yes.
So in terms of what you did as a lead investigation in this case, you'd agree with me that there's nothing in April after April 18th of 2018, correct?
Yes.
May of 18, nothing?
Right.
June, July, August, September, then you have a telephone call?
Yes.
So you'd agree with me, Detective Turner, that the sum and substance of your investigation in this case consists of the interview of Lindsay Partin, correct? Number
Yes.
one?
Yep. Yes.
And then I believe you identified from there the autopsy, the Mayerson Clinic, team meeting, 3 telephone calls and an email. Is that accurate?
That's what's in the report, yes.
Okay.
The notes, sorry.
Okay. Do you have some other report that I'm not aware of?
No, I call them notes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we were thorough on that particular point. Thank you. In addition to Detective Lambert speaking with Christina Lewis, you also spoke with her, is that correct?
I did.
And Christina Lewis is the mother of the other child that Lindsay Partin babysits?
Yes.
And have you seen a photograph of her?
I don't recall if I have or not.
I'm going to show you exhibit, I'm sorry, I'll just put it up on the screen, 107. Do you see this child right here?
I do.
Sorry. Do you see the child here?
Yes.
That's Lindsay Partin standing there, correct?
Yes,
Do you see the child there?
I do.
Do you know that to be Miss Lewis's child?
I don't.
You don't know what the children that were being babysat there looked like?
Not. I mean, they were all similar looking.
You'd agree with me that you talked with Miss Lewis, correct?
I did.
And no charges were filed?
On Miss Lewis?
Correct.
Correct.
I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. On Lindsay Partin about the Lewis child?
Correct. Yes,
I just didn't
yes.
want to say her name again, I apologize.
Right.
How many times have you met with the prosecutors in this case?
2 or 3 probably.
You went over the video, is that correct?
Which video, ma'am?
The 3/9/18 video that we just spent 4 hours looking at?
Yes.
When did you discuss with the prosecutors Detective Lambert's purported 3/8/18 narrative, which was Exhibit I?
Which narrative is that? I mean, do I have
The
it?
lie? The one that was actually created in the week before trial?
What's the question?
When did you talk to the detectives about, I'm sorry, when did you talk to the prosecutors about that?
That night?
How many search warrants have you been in affiant on?
I have no idea, ma'am.
More than one?
Yes.
Are you familiar with how it's important as the affiant in an affidavit when you're presenting it to a judge to be true,
Yes.
to be correct?
Correct.
You're seeking a search warrant of some sort on the words that you've said to this particular judge, correct?
Yes.
You don't want to lie to that judge, do you?
No, ma'am.
Prior to Detective Lambert's testimony, had you seen Exhibit J1 through 13?
What is that, ma'am?
The photographs of Hannah Wesch's bedroom at 4004?
Yes.
It was part of the case file, correct?
Correct.
You'd seen that?
I had, yes.
Just like you saw the photographs from the kitchen area, correct?
Yes.
Any reason to believe that J1 through J13 aren't a true and accurate depiction of what Hannah Wesch's bedroom looked like at the residence of 4004?
No, ma'am.
No reason to believe differently about the kitchen photos either.
Correct.
Have you been out to the Shank Road residence at all?
Yes. Which one?
Either one.
Yes, I've already testified to that, yes.
When did you go out to 4050 Shank Road?
Sometime on the 9th. After the interview.
After the interview.
Correct.
When the 3D photographs were being taken?
Yes.
Pursuant to Detective Morris' search warrant?
Yes.
I have no further questions for Detective Turner. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Howard.
Trying to clean up all my notes. Sorry.
Is she in any redirect?
Yes, briefly, Your Honor.
You may proceed whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Detective, we've heard some testimony regarding the interview that you had with Ms. Partin on March 9th, 2018. Is that right?
Yes.
There was also some testimony on cross-examination that you told her that this was an accident. Is Is that right?
Yes,
Then you also told her that this was a fall or a drop.
correct.
Why do you do that?
It's part of what's called the Reed technique, which is the technique that the Butler County Sheriff's Office uses for interviews like this. It's called offering them a theme. It's basically used to get someone to open up. You offer them a lesser degree, try to get them to admit to that. Once they admit to that, then you build upon that.
And did you do this theme technique with your interview with Ms. Partin?
Yes.
There was some questions on cross-examination regarding defendant maybe not answering your question and then you re-asking the question a couple times. Why is that? Why do you re-ask a question that she's maybe already given you an answer to?
I'm having difficulties remembering exactly what that was in reference to.
And I'm trying to think of the exact question as well.
So ask the question again.
Sure.
And maybe it'll come back.
When you asked the defendant a question in her interview and she gave you an answer, I don't know what to say, for instance, why would you re-ask the question again?
Because that's obviously not the truth.
You're aware that Sergeant Whitlock told the defendant that Hannah was dead.
Yes.
Are you aware of why he did that?
Objection, outside his knowledge? He said he wasn't even there on March 8th.
Calls for speculation, what's this thing?
Detective, you've testified that you have been in a fine on search warrants before.
Yes.
And you've filled out a search warrant affidavit, is that correct?
Yes.
When you fill out a search warrant affidavit, do you give every single piece of information that you have in your investigation?
No, we do not.
And why not?
It's not required, and we just there's certain things we don't want out there until we're ready for it to be out there, such as a trial.
If I can have 1 moment, Your Honor.
Sure, take your time.
I have no further questions, thank you.
All right.
Some follow-up.
Ms. Howard, you may proceed to recross the jury.
Detective Turner, where did you learn the Reed technique?
At a school taught by a Reed.
I'm sorry?
At a school taught by one of the members from the Reed family.
And prior to June 27th of 2016, is that when you taken that class?
Yes.
And you're also familiar that that type of questioning can lead to mental manipulation, correct?
No.
You're also aware that that type of technique can lead to false confession, correct?
No.
Objection, calls for speculation.
Approach.
Sorry.
Howard, if you'd like to read the question.
I will, Your Honor. You're aware, Detective Turner, that these techniques can result in false confession?
No.
You're aware that these techniques can result in an internalized confession?
Internalized?
Correct.
I don't know what that is.
Well, you told her what happened. You told her what you wanted to hear from her, that it was an accident, something happened, that a fall happened. You told her all that, right?
A theme, yes.
You told her all that.
Yes.
No further questions. Thank you.
All right, Detective, you may step down. Please watch your step. I got counsel up here for a second, please, so I'm trying to get an idea of scheduling. right, ladies and gentlemen, obviously, when you're talking about scheduling and trying to pinpoint how long certain aspects of this is going to go, it is not an exact science. You know, we're trying to be mindful of when we're going to wrap up this week, while also not keeping you guys here till 7 or 8 o'clock at night on any time either. After consulting with the attorneys, I have a rough idea of how many witnesses of both sides are intending to call from this point forward. I think what I'm going to do, because I think one of the jurors had indicated that they had an issue of staying past 5:30. I don't know that I have a witness that I can promise would be done at that point. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to call it a wrap a little early tonight. But if we do need to use a certain night to go a little longer than usual, tomorrow night is going to be that night, if you guys want to take that into consideration and plan accordingly. I think if we press on tomorrow night, we should be able to get all the evidence to you by the end of tomorrow, okay? Does that sound fair enough?
Yeah.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. That's how I feel about it, so. All right, so with that, we'll break for the night. Please leave your notepads, please leave your lanyards, please remember your admonitions. We should be getting just one more step closer to closing arguments, and then you guys are being able to do what you're going to ultimately do. So we're closer to the end than we are the beginning. So have a good night, leave all your stuff, admonitions, no talking, no researching, and so forth. We are, we've got full day tomorrow, so please try to be here. If you guys are here at, say, 8:45 till 9, I do know we got some issues we need to address in about 8:30-ish or a little before 8:30-ish. So we'll take care of our business. We'll try to get started just as soon as you guys are here and everybody's ready, okay? All right, very good.
Is there an end cap on that?